Let's just make sure as we're back up. We're back. It says you're live. We're back up. We're back up and running, everybody. So, hey guys, the other stream we had internet difficulties. So we just figured screw it, end it, start a new one. So this is Fit Down Sports Show. We are live. We're about to start an NFL draft. We got Rod from the Rod Uncensored podcast on with us. Talking sports. We're talking we're going to talk fantasy football. We're going to start with college. And as I try to do this here, I'm trying to get into this draft. I don't understand why. There's some, I'm waiting on this draft on how to get into. I need to get into the draft. It says test the live draft. Okay. Well, let me get in. Let me get in on this. Let me get in on this draft. It says successful testing connection status. Successful. Your system is compatible with our draft application. All right. Draft info. Let me sign into the draft. Oh, here we go. So I have the third pick in the draft. So the third pick in the draft is going to end up being Pat Mahomes, which is probably a waste of picking Pat Mahomes there but I'm figuring the other two are going to be gone by then. Unless nobody set up their stuff, but I still don't understand why I can't how do I enter the draft? So I've got some time because it's going to pick for me anyway. It's going to pick for me no matter what. But my team, let's see how do we get into this draft? Let me draft. Anyway. So the way, as I was saying before, the way we do picks is I do best and worst of the weekend when we have college football. So every game that I watch this week, I'll be watching so many there's so many college games. Nobody can keep up on all of them. Nobody can keep up on everything. So, here we go. Our team is drafting now. We're entering the live draft, so we're good. So I watch everything and I pick out the best and worst things that I saw. And so, Rod, I know you watched football this weekend as it was week 0. So we'll do a little bit of week 0 so that everybody knows what they're going to be, how we're going to present this next week when we have the full slate of games on Friday and Saturday. But let me tell you, Rod, while you're on, and let me tell the people out there, let me tell you the best thing I saw in week 0. We'll start with the best because it really doesn't take much to talk about. So the best thing that I saw this weekend. So Northwestern they went to Ireland to play Nebraska. Now they were playing at a stadium in Ireland where everything in the stadium was done by credit card. Everything you couldn't pay cash. You couldn't pay with paper money. Everything was by card. Well, halfway through the first quarter, the internet went down, and the stadium lost Wi-Fi. They lost all ability to do their thing. And so what they did is if this was in America, they probably would have just shut everything down and been like, we're not selling anything. The best thing that the Irish did, the Irish people said, you know what? We can't charge anybody. So everything's free. And they were giving out free beer and free food to anybody that showed up and wanted anything. How awesome is that, Rod?
When can we do this in America?
Exactly. The Irish, where they were like, screw it. We're not going to get this many people in here. We're not going to be able to keep all this overhead stuff. So what we're going to do is we're just going to give everything away for free. So they gave everything away for free.
Could you imagine leaving out that place, being so drunk, you probably couldn't even walk?
All right, I don't know what
just. You know what I mean? People probably was not able to walk. How you know what I mean?
Wait,
you know what I mean? What you call it? The IPAs and all that. They probably was drunk.
What the hell is going on here? All right, I don't understand why this won't let me draft, but sure. Auto pick? No, I don't want auto. No auto picks. That's why it messed me up. No auto pick. All right. NFL.com. NFL.com is the worst fantasy draft application in the history of draft. I've never seen it like this. So the team, our team got screwed up already. Our team got screwed up already, but it doesn't matter. Our wide receivers are immaculate, so we'll be good. But now we're gonna have to focus. Now we're gonna have to focus on running backs for the rest of our days, and we'll figure some things out. But anyway, yeah, how awesome is that? That is the greatest. That was the best story from the week. That was the best story from the weekend in week 0. Everybody that went to the game in Ireland, everybody was getting free beer and free food the entire game. That is so awesome. Like, that's so cool that they did. That's so cool that they did that. Now let's get to the worst of the weekend. And we're going to stay in Ireland, where your team is up 11. Your team is up 11 in the third quarter. You're dominating the game. You have the vaunted black shirt defense and a history of being Nebraska football. And what do you do in the third quarter? Onside kick after a score for no reason. And from that moment on, Northwestern takes over the game, dominates, comes back from down 11 to win the game. Complete debacle from Nebraska. Now, Scott Frost is going to have to own that. And when I watched the play, my first theory was there's no way Scott Frost called that. There's no way he called for an onside kick. It must have been a call on the field, like, hey, if you see them aligned like this, try the onside kick. Like, and the kicker saw something, he tried it, and they failed. That's the only excuse that you could think of, but that would be throwing your kicker under the bus, which doesn't make a difference, because when you're up 11, you don't try that. I'm sorry, you're up 11. You kick the ball deep. Even if Northwestern hadn't shown anything that they would break the game open, that they would score and play, or that they would drive down the field, like UCF does, as we're watching UCF go. They go up and down the field in like 30 seconds. So, but Northwestern's not that kind of offense. So even if they had gone up and down, even if they had gone down the field and scored, they would have taken time off the clock, and you're still up. Instead, you give Northwestern the ball at the 50-yard line, and now they score in 3 plays, and all momentum that Nebraska had was gone, and it showed for the rest of the game as Northwestern came back, won the game, and makes Nebraska look foolish. So, Rod, I know we talked on Monday. I know you had some money on that. How'd you feel about that onside kick?
Mm-hmm. I think it was worse than my divorce. I felt empty inside after I saw that onside kick. He had one job only. It was not doing that stupid shit right there. I don't know, man. I'm still lost for words.
Your team is now on the clock.
I'm still lost for
Ooh,
words.
we're on the clock. All right. Yeah, I was at a loss. I was at a loss for words just watching it. Oh, I know exactly who we're going to take here, and we got a minute left. So
I'm still looking forward to the rivalry of Nebraska and Wisconsin. So
it keeps. This is the most frustrating freaking app. I swear to God, dude. This is the most frustrating draft app. All right. Well, I'm taking George. I'm taking George Kittle here in the fifth. I'm taking George Kittle here in the fifth round. We still need running. We still need running backs, but George Kittle. I think George Kittle's worth taking here because all the running backs are off the board. I wanted to take. So we got to look at running backs here.
I think that's a good move right there, George Kittle.
Yeah, I got George Kittle on my other team, so that's good. It's gonna be that's a tough decision. I still got Josh Jacobs is still available in this league. AJ Dillon's a tough choice. He does fumble. He does fumble a lot. That's the only thing I hate about Josh Jacobs is that he fumbles all the time. Cam Akers is still available. In that offense, they don't really run the ball that much in that Rams offense. But with the fact that we are a long ways away, I think I'm gonna go with Josh Jacobs. I'm gonna go with Josh Jacobs. I think I'm gonna go Josh Jacobs as my starting running back, and then I'll get another guy to fill in. As I have two running back slots open. What do you think? What do you think about that, Rod?
You said Josh Jacobs.
It's Josh Jacobs or Cam Akers.
I think I'm gonna go with Jacobs, man.
I think Jacobs as well.
I don't know how many touches.
Not only the touches. The one thing about Josh Jacobs that I do know is that Josh Jacobs will be there. Josh Jacobs doesn't get hurt. Cam Akers gets hurt. I don't care, Roger Goodell. Shut up. All right, so we're gonna draft Josh Jacobs. We'll draft Josh Jacobs there, and then we'll figure out another running back later on. My wide receivers are stacked on this team. I got Devonta. Shoot, I didn't even realize that I had that they picked Devontae Adams for me. So I'm heavy on the Las Vegas Raiders this year, apparently, on this team. But that's okay. We'll go with that. As we go here. But yeah, that onside kick in Nebraska, and not for nothing. We talked about this. I talked about this. I think on Snowman's show, and I talked about it a little bit last week with Nebraska. You know, everybody's going to say, "Oh, Scott Frost is on the hot seat." You can't put Scott Frost on the hot seat in Nebraska. It's not possible. He's a legacy. The guy won a Heisman Trophy with Nebraska. The Nebraska fan base doesn't care. If he were going to be on the hot seat, he would have been there already because they haven't had more than 3 wins in any of his seasons. So they would have canned him. They would have canned him already if they could, but they can't. They know they can't because he's a legacy there.
I'm saying, I understand that, but you look at the let's go to basketball. They did that with the Thompsons. You know what I mean? John Thompson the second. You know what I mean? It made him, you know what I mean, resign. So I'm just saying, legacies are great, but if he can't produce nothing, that is a great, you know what I mean, a great, you know what I mean, school for football. And he's, you know what I mean, he's holding them back from being great. You know what I mean? With stupid play calling like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's nothing. There's no defense. There's no defense. There's no defense to keep Scott Frost there.
Mm-hmm.
The only defense is he's a legacy guy. He's a legacy guy. That's the only defense of why anyone would keep why you would even think about keeping him. But other than that, there's no way to look, what Scott Frost did with UCF and getting UCF off the ground, that was amazing. But that was UCF. It's a different animal when you're Nebraska and you're in the Big Ten. And that's the biggest problem with Nebraska football right now is they're the basement of the Big Ten. It's them and then Rutgers. Like that's pretty much the basement of the Big Ten. Now, that's probably great for the bottom line as far as Nebraska athletics is concerned. They're making money hand over fist being in the Big Ten. But if your goal is to win football games, right now, you're not doing that. You're not doing that as a you're not doing that as a member of the Big Ten. Being a member of the Big Ten Conference, you're basically a wasted entity there. So that's how.
Right now, if Frost left right now, how many people do you think would ask for an interview for Nebraska? I'm gonna say about 25 people or more. Coaches will want to take over that school.
Oh, there's always somebody. There's always somebody that has that feeling of where what I can do can change the tide around here, or you know. So everybody always had everybody kind of has that feeling about them, but to me, I don't think I think any up and coming coach would love to go to Nebraska, but you're not getting a big time name. You're not stealing a big time name. You're not gonna take somebody like let's say like let's just use last season USC as an example. USC fired Clay Helton and was able to get Lincoln Riley to go from Oklahoma to USC. You're not going from a top tier program to Lincoln, Nebraska. Like you're not going to Lincoln, Nebraska. Now, if I'm Nebraska, if Scott Frost were to leave, the choice is easy. You go out and get Bill O'Brien from Alabama, the former Texans coach. The former Penn State coach, now offensive coordinator with Alabama. He's been there for 2 years. Look at what he did last year with Bryce Young. I mean, this is what Bill O'Brien has proven, that he can come into the Big Ten and rebuild a program. Remember, he took over Penn State after the Joe Paterno debacle, when Penn State was under immense. They were farther underwater than Nebraska is, and had restrictions against them, and he was still able to build that up.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I were Nebraska,
I really feel like he should never left college. You know what I mean? I feel like he'd be a great college coach. I don't think he's a great NFL head coach. You know what I mean? I don't think he can manage grown
I think there's evidence on both sides. There's evidence on both sides of that argument. I think he was a good head coach. The problem is he was a terrible general manager. Why they ever tried to make him coach / general manager? That's where everything went wrong.
You know why he did that, right?
I still have.
Everybody's trying to be Bill 2.0. Everybody's trying to be Bill 2.0.
Yeah, but being Bill,
You know what I mean?
being Bill 2.0, Bill Belichick would never have gotten rid of his best player for no reason. the issue that where Bill O'Brien went wrong was when he decided to get rid of DeAndre Hopkins for no reason. Because they didn't want to sign him, because they didn't want to offer him a big time contract. He was the best player on the team, and the domino effect of that move was everything. It caused Deshaun Watson to do what Deshaun Watson did. The domino effect, that whole thing started with DeAndre Hopkins getting moved for absolutely nothing. And everybody else in the locker room was like, if you could trade this guy, if you get rid of this guy, then you can get rid of anybody. So why would anybody put in their time and effort there? So that's why. But as far as a coach, I mean, everybody like to say, "Oh, Bill O'Brien couldn't do this. Bill O'Brien couldn't do that." Bill O'Brien made the playoffs every year that he coached, except for that last year, which was, Deshaun Watson didn't want to play, DeAndre wasn't there. But the year before that, they went to the playoffs. They won a playoff game. They made the second round of the playoffs. He was a good coach. He's a good coach, and you're right about him being a great college level coach. College, you don't have to make those decisions. You don't have to decide to cut anybody. So you take that away from him. That you give him that kind of effort. So you're talking about a very good spot, huh? This league is really weird. All right, I need your opinion here, Rod. I'm on the clock here. J.K. Dobbins, the Baltimore running back, or Juju Smith-Schuster, wide receiver at Kansas City?
I think Juju might eat, you know what I mean? But DK gonna get a lot of touches. That's a tough one, man. I think I might have to go with the more proven one. I think I'll go with DK.
So you're gonna go with J.K. Dobbins? So you think I should?
Yeah.
I think I should go with Dobbins. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I was thinking Dobbins. Plus there's a couple other wide receivers, and let me see. I just picked. Yeah, I'm far enough. I'm far enough away. I don't.
Available, I would grab him too. If somebody doesn't pick him up, I'll grab him.
Who?
I think he's gonna have a big year.
Who's that?
Renfro.
Oh, Renfro. Hunter Renfro is one of my sleeper picks. I know he's going to be down. I know he's going to be down on the list. So I'm hoping he stays.
If nobody grab him up, I'll definitely grab him up.
I'm hoping he stays for a while. I'm just looking at who's up and who's in. So all right. So as far as this fantasy team is concerned, this draft got all screwed up from the jump, but we're back. Everybody's lined up. Now I just have to draft kicker, defense, and bench. So I just got to build up my bench. And with Antonio Gibson and with Dobbins, I think the next pick has to be a wide receiver, because you get to put wide receiver, running back in your flex, I'm going to be looking at wide receivers. Of course, I just said Juju's still available. My guy is still available. I don't want to give it away before then, but I got him on one of my other leagues, so I may just take him just to take him. But since nobody's even paying attention in this draft, I'll just give it away. I'm looking at Cortland Sutton with my next pick. Wide receiver from Denver with Russell Wilson going in there. I really like that. Oh, there's a lot of good wide receivers left. Drake London still left, which I think people in this league, they're not going to be aware of how good Drake London was. Amazing at USC last year. The problem is Atlanta doesn't have a quarterback, so but we're going to put Cortland Sutton. We're going to take Cortland. I'm going to look to take Cortland Sutton. Put him in my queue and queue him up. All right. So we were talking about Nebraska. We're talking about that. So since we were talking about Nebraska, let's go to and let's see what we got going on here. Nothing really going on. So let's go to Nebraska. Let's go to the Big Ten. We broke down the conferences last week. Let's go to let's start in the Big Ten. And let's finish up our conference breakdowns of the Power Five. We did the other three last week. We'll do the Big Ten. And it all starts with the big game, the biggest rivalry, the best rivalry in college football. I don't care what anybody says. You go back historically, this is the best rivalry. Yes, there are iterations that it doesn't matter, but overall, there's no bigger rivalry to me than Michigan, Ohio State. And those are the two teams that I think are going to challenge this year, especially in the East. What I don't understand, I get the hype around Ohio State. I get it. CJ Stroud coming back. He was a Heisman contender last year. He was everything to that team last year. Trayvon Henderson had a great freshman year. At running back, of course, they bring in, and I'm sure everybody will remember this name. This name should make some noise. Marvin Harrison, who is the son of Marvin Harrison Sr., the former Indianapolis Colts NFL Hall of Famer. So he'll jump in up there at Ohio State. Of course, when you talk legacy Ohio State receivers, I mean you go back to the days of Chris Carter, David Boston. You look at last year, they had three wide receivers two of them taken in the top in the first round of the NFL draft. So Ohio State knows how to produce wide receivers. I think they'll be okay there. Their defensive line is absolute monsters with led by Zach Harrison. Their defense is always going to be good. Ryan Day knows how to coach offense. So I get why everybody is loving Ohio State. What I don't understand is how everybody just looked past Michigan. How Ohio State jumped past Michigan, I don't understand. Because Michigan was the better team last year. They bring Cade McNamara back. They bring back basically every weapon that they had. They get they had Cornelius Johnson came into his own as a wide receiver. But more importantly, if you remember, in the third game of the season last year, they lost their top wide receiver, Ronnie Bell, went down with a knee injury. Ronnie Bell will be back this year. So their wide receivers get better just by him being there. So to me,
Your team is now on the clock.
we're now on the clock. All right. So Rod, I need your help again. Do I take Juju or do I take Cortland Sutton?
I'll probably go Cortland Sutton, man.
I'm thinking Cortland Sutton as well. Really, the only reason I'm going Cortland Sutton is because I have Pat Mahomes as my quarterback. And I told you when I did the draft the last time, I don't like to take wide receiver quarterback combos because if the quarterback has a bad day, that means your wide receiver has a bad day. So I like to keep it separated, but I'm going to take Cortland Sutton here because I really like Cortland Sutton. Big target.
I think he finally got the right quarterback for him.
This is, and that's what I was just going to say. This is a guy Russell Wilson would love to have on his team. So I'm all in on Cortland Sutton. I have him on my other team. So it makes rooting interest a lot easier. So we'll go with that. Now my next thing that I need to find is a backup quarterback. That's what I'm going to need. I'm going to need a bye week quarterback. That's what's going to have to go down. But anyway, we're talking about the Big Ten, the Michigan Wolverines. Here's why I put Michigan ahead of Ohio State. One name, Blake Corum. Blake Corum is the most athletic player in college football. He is. If Jim Harbaugh finds a way to use this kid, I know Hassan Haskins was the big runner last year, but that's because Hassan Haskins was Hassan Haskins. Blake Corum is the most dynamic player in college football. He can run, he can catch, when he has the ball in his hands, you better watch out because he could take it to the house at any time. This kid is amazing, and he's the reason why Michigan is a threat now. Michigan finally has, as my former co-host and one of my best friends, my buddy Ben, who's the biggest Michigan fan I know, he would say, Michigan finally has that guy. Finally has that dude. And Blake Corum is that dude. And that's what puts Michigan over the top for me. And that's why I would look at it. What do you think about those two teams, Rod? Ohio State and Michigan.
I just love the rivalry. You know what I mean? I'm only 30 years old, but that's just an iconic rivalry. Who do you think is a bigger rivalry than Ohio State and Michigan? This is big time. You don't get nothing bigger than that. You don't get nothing bigger than that in college football. That's what I honestly feel. I don't know about yourself, but that's a big time rivalry, man.
Absolutely, it's a great rivalry. I just gotta check. As I said, I think it's the best. I think it's the best rivalry in the sport. It's the best rivalry in college football. And people can tell me the Iron Bowl, Alabama, Auburn. You could tell me USC, UCLA. There are a bunch of rivalries. Nothing's bigger than Ohio State. Nothing's bigger than Ohio State, Michigan. The game means so much. All right, so
Did you see how the fans ran down the field last year when Michigan won?
Oh,
that's all you got to say.
Everybody
was there. All the big stars was there.
And
Wilson was there. Every big time Michigan fan, you know what I mean, Michigan alum was there.
And Michigan finally beat
favors they have.
Michigan finally beat Ohio State Jim Harbaugh was 0-8 against Penn State, Michigan State, and Ohio State. He was 0-8 against those guys. Ends up winning to win that game. That was a huge. We can go back to Steve Young. What Steve Young said after he won the Super Bowl. The monkey is off his back. And Jerry Rice had the famous where they acted pulling the monkey off Steve Young's back. That was last year for Jim Harbaugh. The monkey is off his back. The monkey is off his back now, and that means that's going to mean a lot to Michigan going forward. But like I said, Michigan has so much coming back that I don't understand why they fell so as far as they did. But we'll continue on with the division with the Big Ten, and we'll go to that other the only team in the Big Ten to beat Michigan last year, Michigan State, the Spartans. Now, of course, it's going to be tough this year because they have to go at Michigan. They have to duplicate their performance and go to the big house and do it. It's a lot more said. But I like this Michigan State roster. I love Michigan State this year. Peyton Thorne at quarterback showed me a lot last year as a freshman. Now he's got a lot of starts under his belt. So I like Peyton Thorne. I like Jarek Broussard, transfer from Colorado, coming in at running back. I know a lot of people. He's got to replace Kenneth Walker. Look, you bring in a guy like Jarek Broussard. Jarek Broussard can handle that load. So I like that move. But more importantly, I like Jaden Reed at wide receiver. So I like Michigan State. I like what Michigan State has. And a lot of people are going to forget this team was 11-2 last year. When they beat Michigan, it was kind of huge. And then, of course, they had the debacle against Ohio State. And they had the they had the unfortunate game against that was just it was just a debacle when they played Ohio State. But that's going to happen. That's going to happen against a team as good as Ohio State. So I'm not that torn up about it. But I like Michigan State. I want to get your feelings right. What are your feelings about Penn State?
Oh, man. I love the coach. Don't get me wrong, but Penn State cost me a couple dollars last year. Where I had to fall off the wagon. I feel like my biggest problem with them, I think they can't get the recruits like they used to get, man. With that whole, that whole situation, man. I feel like they don't got enough athletes like they used to, man. They used to have used to have great offensive line play. Great defensive play. That used to be a linebacker at Penn State back in the day. Great running backs. You can name a list of running backs used to come out of there. I just feel like they're missing the athletes out of there. But
I feel like that's the problem. I feel like that's the problem with James Franklin.
Your team is now on the clock.
James Franklin has brought in, he's brought in guys that are good athletes. He's brought in great athletes. I feel like he hasn't brought in good offensive linemen. And my biggest problem with Penn State, my biggest problem with picking Penn State in any game, it doesn't matter what game you're talking about. The biggest problem for Penn State is they have Sean Clifford at quarterback. Sean Clifford is number 2 on my list. I mentioned this on Snowman this morning. I mentioned it on your show on Monday. I mentioned it last week when I was talking about Oregon. Bo Nix is my most frustrating quarterback. Second on that list is Sean Clifford. I don't trust Sean Clifford in a big spot ever. And that's their biggest problem to me. I do not trust the quarterback. And if I don't trust the quarterback, I don't trust this offense. So I do not trust Penn State this year, as far as they go. Moving right along I'm going to move to one of my surprise teams, and my surprise team in the East is going to be keep your eyes on Maryland. Why? Because look, I don't care. I don't care how his brother's doing, but Taluya Tagovailoa at quarterback. He can change. He's going to change this team. This team is going to go the way he goes. If he's able to put it together, the problem is their schedule just is a monster. At Michigan State, followed by Michigan State. That's a tough back-to-back.
Your team is now on the clock.
And then at Wisconsin, at Penn State, and Ohio State to end the year. That's a gauntlet. That's a gauntlet run for any team to really go through. All right, yeah, they're still available. So yeah, but I like but that's why I think they can be a. I think they can be very much in the hunt this year as far as a surprise team. Don't be shocked if they come out. And why does it?
I wouldn't be shocked.
Why does it always do that? All right, I'm going to take it.
But Deeks, I have something at 9:25, so I'm gonna get off, man.
All right. Before you go, you got any? You got what games? What games are you looking forward to this week?
This week, let me see.
Well, so you don't get caught up again betting Nebraska. Who are you betting big this week? And I'll help you out.
I'm going with Navy against UD.
Okay, that's a good choice. What else you got?
I'm definitely gonna take definitely some easy ones. Miami versus Bethune Cookman. That's an easy one. That's a gimme. What else do I have on my paper? Texas A&M play Sam Houston. That's another gimme.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna take Cincinnati versus Arkansas.
I like where you're going so far.
BYU South Florida, that's an easy one. Ole Miss, I'm gonna go with Ole Miss, of course, against Troy. And you know what I mean? This hard for me to say this. I'm going with Utah against Florida now.
You're going Utah against Florida. All right. Snowman said the same thing. I'm going the other way. I'm going the other way on this. And my reasoning is nothing to get. We're going to get to the SEC in a minute when Rod comes off. But Florida, dude, Utah is a good team. They played well last year. Going into the swamp it's a totally different animal. If that game were in Utah, I would buy Utah. I'd buy everything Utah. Because that game's in the swamp. Because that game is in the swamp in Florida, the Gators play different in Florida, and I expect them to come out guns blazing. That's why I'm going Florida. I'm going Florida just on location alone. And so that's my one. That's my one of my big upsets this week is I got Florida over Utah. Especially Florida being a home dog at the Swamp. That doesn't happen often.
They're gonna have to make me a believer, just like Florida State and Florida. Both from Florida schools gonna make me a believer. University of Miami, all the Florida schools gonna have to make me a believer. Florida schools been playing really like trash the last couple years, man. It's like they're gonna have to make me a believer.
Yeah. And the other thing is Florida does bring back Anthony Richardson, which Anthony Richardson can run the ball. He's going to have to show me something passing the ball. But I liked him last year as a freshman. Now he's got some time under his belt. Again, everything in that game screams Utah. Everything screams Utah coming off the Rose Bowl, coming off, they were ahead of Ohio State. They were beating Ohio State till about 5 minutes left in that game. So Utah is a tough team. Don't get me wrong. Utah is a tough team. But this is the SEC versus the Pac-12, and this is at an SEC. This isn't a neutral site game. This isn't a Georgia neutral site game where somehow Oregon versus Georgia at the Georgia Dome is considered a neutral site when one team has to fly across country, the other team has to travel 5 minutes down the road. Doesn't make any sense, but sure. But this game is not. This game is a true going into the swamp. So, Rod, always great to have you. You're always welcome to come on the show. And next week we'll be going probably this. We won't be going the same time. We'll be going probably earlier, way earlier, because the NFL will be starting. So,
oh yeah, big game next Thursday.
So next Thursday, the NFL starts. So we'll try to get a little bit earlier, but I'll let you know. And you're always welcome to come on, talk about us. We'll have more picks, and of course, if you see something really awesome, let us know for our best of the weekend. If you see something really horrible, let us know for our worst of the weekend, and we'll get you on next week. And I look forward to coming on Monday on your program and breaking it all down.
All right, man. I appreciate you, Beats, man. Keep on doing what you're doing, man.
All right. Thanks, man. All right. So that's Rod from the Rod Uncensored podcast. Everybody, check him out. Rod will be one of our frequent guests. I will definitely have his podcast linked up when I learn how to do all that kind of stuff. But yeah, definitely go check him out. Rod Uncensored podcast. Like,
your team is now on the clock.
Like and subscribe to all your favorites. As we go here, we're kind of jumping all over the place, doing this a little bit differently than we normally do, but it is what it is. I don't even know what I have left. You know what? I don't even care about this anymore. I don't even care about this draft anymore because of the way it opened. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna see. Nope. They're still on the clock. They're still on there, so I'm not going to worry about that. Maybe I'll get a kicker. I don't want Harrison Butker. I don't want Ryan Suckup. Yeah, that works. I'm gonna go with the kicker. I haven't even been paying attention to this draft. Because of the way it started, the way it got off to a start, made me auto pick a couple picks. I didn't like that. So I got 2 bench spots and that. So we're going to go with the defense next. I know what defense I want to go with. All right. So we're talking about the Big Ten. Let's finish up the Big Ten. I like Maryland as my surprise team in the East. I'm not even worried about Indiana and Rutgers. I'm not even worried about them. Let's go to the West, where Wisconsin's always going to be in there. They finally have a guy who can throw the ball. The problem is Graham Mertz. Go back to the Notre Dame game last year. mistakes. Now he's a year more, a lot more season. The problem is their schedule at Ohio State, at Michigan State, and at Iowa. I do not like those 3 games in the conference. That's tough. If it's Fifth Down Sports Show, where we like to break it down. Iowa, the Iowa Hawkeyes. I love Spencer Petras at quarterback. I know they lose Goodson, the running back, but they got guys coming back. And one of my two favorite players, Sam Laporta, the tight end.
Your team is now on the clock.
And Nico Reganey. Nico Reganey is an awesome, is somebody we're going to talk about a lot on this channel. It's going to be, he's going to be a guy that we talk about a lot on this channel because Nico Reganey's father was my wide receivers coach in high school. He was my freshman coach, Coach Rags. I have so much respect for Coach Reganey. I love it. So Nico, you're gonna get all the love from us. From us here. Of course, he plays at our favorite school, Iowa. I'm on the clock, and why does it? What are you doing? Okay, let me draft somebody. I'll take that. I'll take that. I didn't want to, but I will. So I didn't want to draft him there, but sure. I didn't want to draft the Patriots defense, but sure, I'll take the Patriots defense there because I think we have 2 picks. I think we have 2 picks left. And I know exactly who my last 2 picks are going to be because at wide receiver, I need to see if this guy's still available, and he should be. There he is. This is the worst app. Excuse me. All right. Hold on. I'm just trying to set this up. I'm just trying to set up my draft here, and this is the worst. Friggin'. All right. So cue him up, and my other guy. I gotta search for my last. For the last fill-in pick. All right. So anyway, let's get to – so, yeah, I love Iowa this year. They get Michigan at home. They get Wisconsin at home. They get Northwestern at home. I like their schedule. They get Iowa State at home, Nebraska at home. All their big games are at home. And anytime Iowa is on television, look, all you need to do is watch the end of the first quarter. Best tradition in all of sports is at the end of the first quarter when every single person in the stadium, away team, home team, referees, fans, they all turn to the child's cancer ward and wave to the kids. It's the most amazing thing in all of sports. So I love that. So we're going there. All right. So we haven't had a lot of time here. We don't have a lot of time left. So as I said, I like Iowa. My surprise team. My surprise team in the West will be the Northwestern Wildcats. I think Helinski at quarterback. I think they can be a surprise. You know, Pat Fitzgerald doesn't have back-to-back bad years. So I think they have a bounce-back year. Watch out for Northwestern this year in the West. But in the Big Ten, I like Michigan and Iowa. I like a repeat Michigan-Iowa Big Ten championship next. That's what I'm looking at. All right, let's go to the SEC, where it all starts with Alabama. Of course, Alabama. Bryce Young coming back. JoJo Earl, Tyler Harrell at wide receiver. The guy who I really like is Cameron Latu, the tight end. 6'5", 244. Love that. But where Alabama's going to make their strides this year is on defense. Defensively, they have the best player. They have the best defensive player in college football in Will Anderson. Will Anderson's going to make plays. He's going to be the focal point this year. I like that. I love Eli Ricks, the corner. So look for that. And probably my new favorite for best name in college football. Kool-Aid McKinstry will be the corner at Alabama. Kool-Aid McKinstry. Love the name. Love the team there. All right. Staying in the West, Texas A&M. A&M brings in Max Johnson, the former LSU quarterback. Of course, his father, Brad Johnson. We've seen him play at LSU a little bit. Now he goes to Texas A&M. I think he can thrive there. The problem is A&M has to go to Alabama this year. Can they pull the upset again? Not likely away from the 12th man, away from College Station. So I'm not feeling that. Arkansas, the first week of this, we'll know all about them when they play Cincinnati this weekend. Is Arkansas for real? If Arkansas wants to prove that they're for real, they've got to take care of business against Cincinnati. If they struggle if they lose to Cincinnati, then all bets are off. If they struggle with Cincinnati, then there's going to be a rethink. They need to go in and they need to trounce Cincinnati for anybody to start believing in them. But KJ Jefferson is a good player that we like to see. Mississippi, love Lane Kiffin. I love Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's one of my favorite coaches of all time. So we're up in 2 picks again, and I know exactly who I'm taking. I know who I'm taking. I think I have 2 picks left, right? Yeah. All right. So where's my Q? Oh, Q. Yep. My queue is set up, so we'll be good to go. And then I just need this. All right, my queue is set up for this draft, so we're good to go. What's going on in the chat? So anyway, here we go. All right. So we're focusing on this. Jackson Dart coming over from USC. Love what Lane Kiffin can do with quarterbacks is amazing. Jackson Dart is one of those kids that he has all the talent in the world. So Lane Kiffin will be able to find some way to do some things with that. So we'll get going there. Auburn is now
on the clock.
Auburn is now in the post All right, so we're gonna take Joanne. We're gonna take Joanne Jennings. And we're going to set up to take Wandale Robinson. We're going to set up to take Wandale Robinson to close out the draft. All right. So, moving on to LSU brings in Brian Kelly this year. So not only do they bring in Brian Kelly, but they bring in Jaden Daniels from Arizona State. So watch out for LSU this year. I look for them to have a bounce back season. Lots of good things going their way. Georgia, most NFL ready freshman I've ever seen. Brock Bowers at tight end. That's going to be the big weapon for Georgia this year. Watch Brock Bowers, 6'4", 230. This kid was a monster last year. I look for him to really take over. There's not much we need to talk about with Georgia. They're going to be good again. They're going to be great again. So I don't really have much to say about Georgia. Tennessee, Tennessee brought in Hendon Hooker from Virginia Tech, and he has another year under the system. Look, you bring Josh Heupel in, another year under that Josh Heupel offense. We'll see what happens. Their biggest matchup at Pittsburgh in week 2. That's when we'll know whether Tennessee is for real. We talked about the Gators earlier. I like Anthony Richardson at quarterback. I like the Gators this weekend. I like the Gators against against Utah, and if they get off to a good start, look out, because
your team is now on the clock.
They have Utah, then they play Kentucky, and that'll be a big matchup as we start talking. Will Levis at quarterback. Wait, what just happened? What just happened? Where'd my guy go? Oh, they took my guy. Did somebody draft him? Somebody drafted Wandale Robinson? What the hell? Somebody drafted Wandale Robinson? What the fuck? All right, so let's go quarterback. What quarterbacks are available? I got no quarterbacks available. What the fuck are you doing? Whatever. We'll take this guy from Minnesota because it's the only one left. Hold on. T-Time took my guy. Stole my guy, Wandale Robinson. All right, so this draft is over. I wasn't really paying attention anyway. Leave this. No, cancel. I don't know. Just leave it. All right. So let me tell you, in the SEC this year, there's not much to break down because I'm telling you right now, Alabama and Georgia don't play each other, so I don't see anybody knocking them off going into the SEC championship game again. And I think it's going to be it's going to be another game where the loser is the 3 seed and the winner is the 1 seed. That's how it's going to play out. All right. So let's get to what everybody comes here for. Let's do the picks for week 1. And we'll start with Oregon at Georgia. It's Georgia a 17.5 point favorite. Georgia a 17.5 point favorite. Again, that game is being played in a neutral site called the Georgia Dome. Oregon traveling
Thanks
all
for
the
attending the NFL Draft. Best of luck this season.
Oregon traveling all the way from Oregon traveling all the way across country. Georgia traveling 5 minutes down the road. That gives Georgia a decidingly advantage. Plus the fact that Oregon has Bo Nix playing quarterback for them. Everything's screaming Georgia for me to take that. So I'm taking Georgia. Of course, that game is 3:30. That'll be a 3:30 matchup, so I'll be watching that one pretty intently. But the biggest matchup of the weekend is Cincinnati at Arkansas, which Arkansas comes in as 6.5 point favorites. But I love this Cincinnati team. I think they've been disrespected. I think this is a chance for them to earn their respect back. So I'm taking the Bearcats. I'm taking the Bearcats to win. They're the dogs, so I'm going to take Cincinnati outright. So I'm taking Cincinnati outright. We talked about Utah at Florida. That's a 7 o'clock start. Utah is the higher ranked team. Of course, they come in at 3-point favorites. Utah's 3-point favorites going into the swamp at night. Something about this game just screams Florida to me. I'm taking Florida to get the upset win at home. So I'll take Florida at home. All right. Another big time game for me, and I mentioned this on Snowman's show this morning, but a game I'm very excited to watch, and that's Boise State. Boise State at Oregon State. It'll be a late night. It'll be a Pac-12 after dark. It's Boise State going to Corvallis. Oregon State is a 3-point favorite at home, but I love Hank Bachmeier. He's my favorite player to watch. Hank Bachmeier, there's nothing when you watch this kid play. He gets hit. He takes monster hits and just bounces right back up. So that's why I love this kid. I love it. I'm taking them. I'm taking Boise State to win outright. North Carolina State at ECU to open the season. 11.5 point favorites going in. I like NC State in this one. I like them to win and to cover. So I'll take NC State with a win and a cover there. Florida State heads to LSU, heading to Death Valley. I'm taking LSU in this one. I do not trust Florida State. And with it only being a 3-point spread, I'll take LSU. I'll take LSU and the points. LSU to win and cover. TCU at Colorado. This game has moved significantly, which is telling me that the Sharks are betting TCU hard. At Colorado, I'll take TCU to win, but Colorado with a 14.5 point spread. I'll take Colorado. I'll take TCU to win, but Colorado to cover. So I'm taking Colorado in a cover there. In my big bet this weekend, Clemson at Georgia Tech. Clemson is 21.5. it's been pushed up to 22. It opened at 21.5. So I'll go with the 21.5. I'll take Clemson and the points in that one. Now for the big game everybody's come for, Notre Dame at Ohio State. I talked about it at the beginning of the show. Why? Why in the hell is this game, why is it a 17.5 point spread? If Notre Dame is the 5th best team in the country, like people say, and Ohio State is 2, there's no reason that this should be two scores. I'll take Ohio State to win at home, but I'm taking Notre Dame to keep it closer than two scores. So I'm getting 17.5. I'll take Notre Dame to cover and Ohio State to win the game. And my last one is a pick'em. North Carolina at Appalachian State. I'm taking Appalachian State at home over the Tar Heels. So I'll take App State at home. So that's our show for today. We got our previews in. We're talking about everything. You want a full, we got some time left. So with the way this goes, let me predict the playoff. I already said I think Alabama and Georgia get in. I think Michigan wins the Big Ten again. I think Michigan gets in. So there's your three teams right there. That 4th team is going to be tough, and I'm gonna ride with it this year. I'm gonna ride with Brent Venables. I'm gonna ride with Oklahoma. I'm gonna put Oklahoma in as the 4th team this year. So I'm gonna go with Oklahoma getting into the playoff as the 4th team. I think we get a repeat. I think we get a repeat, guys. I think we get a repeat. Alabama, Georgia for the national title. I think Alabama and Georgia play each other for the national title. The scariest thing to me this year would be, and I gotta take a look. I gotta take a look at the schedule for a minute. And there's Georgia. Let's see. Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. It's definitely a possibility. Imagine this scenario. Texas A&M, A&M or Alabama. Take one of those. So I'll just say it because I think Alabama's going to do it. Let's say Alabama goes undefeated. Georgia goes undefeated. Texas A&M has 1 loss, but it's to Alabama. Imagine that scenario at the end of the year where Alabama beats Georgia to win the SEC. So you have an undefeated Alabama. You have Georgia, whose only loss is to Alabama. You have Texas A&M, whose only loss is to Alabama. You could get 3 SEC teams in a 4-team playoff and have the other team be the winner of the Big Ten, which I think would be Michigan, Ohio State. This is the year that everybody could lose their minds. You could have 3 SEC teams in the playoff. One of them not even participating in the playoff. That's the chaos scenario this year. That's the chaos scenario for the NCAA. And anybody who wants to see playoff expansion, you could see it in that. You could see it in the situation. and put Ayuk in there. So if you're somebody out there that's looking for ways for playoff expansion, the way to get there is to have A&M. A&M's only loss to be Alabama, or Alabama's only loss to be A&M, and have the SEC West champion, whoever wins that game, win the entire SEC, and have a one-loss Georgia team make it, have a one-loss Texas A&M make it, and everybody else is going to be sitting there screaming their head off about what's going on in college football. But that being said, we are ready to go. It is college football. It is going to be a great start to the year. So everything will be under control. Everything will be on. Next week, we'll be back to doing regular shows. We won't have a fantasy draft to do. But we will be picking NFL games. We will be picking college football, but we'll be giving you best and worst of the weekend. So everybody check it out. Everybody like, subscribe, do what you got to do. Share the show wherever you want. And we'll talk to you next week. All right, guys. Have a good one.